We let you be machine assisted, not replaced by, enhanced by.
This wasn't just your average grandfather. Take time to soak up the knowledge that he has.
This is the upside. More time for what matters and what you love and what brings you joy.
What are a few of your favorite excerpts from the book that everyone in the world should know? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. Did you know that Indiana has been a hub for sports innovation for over a century? Starting with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where pioneers tested game-changing tech like seatbelts and anti-lock brakes. That forward-thinking spirit is still in overdrive today, and Sports Tech HQ is at the center of it. They're on a mission to scout the most groundbreaking sports tech that is shaping the future of sports, and to bring those innovators right here to Indiana. Guess what? It's working. Sports Tech HQ already has 38 companies in its collective that call Indiana home, with 16 relocating from around the world in just the past year. Home to a world-class sports infrastructure, Indiana provides the perfect foundation for entrepreneurs to advance innovations that can change the game for fans, athletes, and teams. Sports Tech HQ is the leading global hub for an industry that is projected to reach $100 billion by 2030. Discover how these companies are driving the future of sports through Indiana's robust ecosystem of partners at sthq.org. Today, I'm joined by the powerhouse Karen Mangia, current president and chief strategy officer at the Engineered Innovation Group. With over 20 years of experience working with major companies like Salesforce, Cisco, and AT&T, she's helped businesses grow by putting customer success at the heart of everything. When she's not inspiring innovation across Hoosier commerce, she's writing best-selling books, hosting her Success from Anywhere podcast, and supporting the arts as a board member for the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. She is also the author of Sundays with Salvator, 52 Recipes to Cultivate Conversation, Connection, and Community. It's a book written about her 101-year-old grandfather, Salvator, and I'm really excited to dive into that. If you follow her on LinkedIn, you've definitely seen some of the wisdom that Salvator puts out there. So today we're going to be talking about separating the help from the hype when it comes to AI, and we're going to do a deep dive into that book, Sundays with Salvator, and talk about some of the wisdom that grandfather Salvator has to share with his 101 years of experience. And we're going to wrap out, we might tease something new that Karen has dropping here in the near future. So Karen, welcome to Get In.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to be back, right? This is, I don't know, that might have been like early 20s or 30s episode that I think you and Jake came on and, I don't know, talked through. This was like maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago. So it's fun to have you back and talk about all the new things that are going on with EIG and obviously the book.
Yes, and when I think about it now, the delta between where that conversation was and the company was to now, it feels like a Dr. Seuss book. Oh, the places you'll go. Wasn't that one of his books?
I do believe so, right? Yeah, because at the time, for anyone that goes back or has listened to that episode before, EIG started as a really big like services-based, like outsourced dev, that type of work, right?
Yes. Our original hypothesis that our founder and CEO, Jake Miller, used to start the company was, let's help startups start up. What he observed as a brilliant technical visionary is how much time and money startup founders spent trying to bring their first version of a software product to market. And what he realized is there was a market where you didn't need to hire, as a startup, full-time product people to build that first version of your product, that minimum viable product. Instead, you could outsource that to a company like ours, and ideally we would grow together. As you grow, we have more services to offer you. Or if you decided to hire your own staff, we would do a turnkey solution for you and off you would go with great documentation and security in the first version of your product. We realized that we had services and expertise that were beneficial upmarket. And so we expanded to some other services and additional people. And what was interesting is when we got to the beginning of 2024, people started saying things to us like, I'm not sure more software is the solution to my problem. If software were going to solve my business problems, it would have done it by now. The way that we internalized that message as 2024 played out was there are so many organizations that are software rich and ROI poor.
Okay, so software rich, spending a lot, have a lot of options, have a lot of tools.
Yes.
But what was the final piece?
ROI poor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're not getting the information you need about your business in a timely way to run and make decisions for your business.
Well, there's nothing worse than in the demo or in the marketing materials, you see this like fancy solution. You're like, yes. Like you're so bought in, like this is what's going to help my business. And then it's like you get it and it's like you have to set it all up and you have no idea what you're doing and it doesn't work the way you thought it was going to work. And all your data doesn't pour it in the same way that it was supposed to, and yada, yada, yada.
And think about how many times you've heard this phrase that's always the hook in those demos. It's going to be your single source of truth. I can't tell you how many single sources of truth I've personally lived through in my years leading sales and customer experience, only to find out that, oh, yeah, not quite all the information is there. You still have to log into 25 different systems. There's no such thing in software as a single source of truth.
Bum, bum, bum.
Right. And what that means is stranded value, right? If I don't have everything I need to know about my customer in one place, or the entire executive dashboard is driven by a team of people who are clicking into 15 different systems and then producing this magical, beautiful dashboard or set of PowerPoint slides, that's manual effort. That's stranded value. There was a recent study that revealed that the average employee spends 57% of their workday on work about work.
57% of the workday.
57%.
Okay, if you had to describe or define what's work about work.
Think about giving the presentation to the boss. We need to give you the state of the business. This could be the sales forecast, the pipeline velocity, the customer experience scores, whatever the metrics are for the health of your business. That 57% is a human being or set of human beings clicking on one tab and logging into a system and pulling one piece of data over here. Then clicking on another system or software, or let's be honest, spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's a spreadsheet.
Pulling a piece of information there and then manually manipulating all of this. So 57% of your time is just spent task switching to go gather little bits of information that are everywhere so that you can produce this value-added piece of work.
57% of time is, explaining either the work that has been done or the work that needs to be done.
Yes.
And like pulling out all these things. That's wild.
Yes. And we even noticed it in a business our size. At our peak, we hit 43 employees, and the CEO and I could not go to every meeting and keep up on every project. We didn't even have enough information to make decisions about the business at our size. So now play that out to an enterprise. That became the inspiration for Jake to write a little AI solution for us that integrated with Slack. We happen to be a Slack organization. You might be Teams. It works with that as well. The idea was, how could we build something that would fetch all of this information from places like Jira tickets and Slack notes that the team was writing to each other and emails and call recordings and turn that into something so that in a single Slack channel, Jake and I at any moment could go in and say, please give me the update on the Get In client and how we're doing. And it would tell us. Then you could ask more questions. We thought this is great. Then we would say, now let's have it write an executive summary that we could send every week to every client. Boy, that went really quickly. We used this original idea to help ourselves scale and be more productive. And when people started saying to us, I don't think I need more software. I've got all this stranded value. I don't need any more software. I'm up to my eyeballs in software and software spend, right? And so many of those features actually go unadopted and unused. And we thought, we're onto something here. And so we took this internal solution that we called Roxy AI, named after our founder's dearly departed enormous St. Bernard dog, started testing this with larger organizations and saying, have you ever noticed you have all this software and all this information and yet you never quite have what you need? Have you ever noticed that you don't want your most expensive employees spending time doing really manual tasks? You want them to do the thinking tasks that lead to value for you and for your organization? And they said yes. And so we packaged up Roxy AI as a platform and started selling pilots to people. And what we discovered was, and I'll give you a real example, a health insurance company that provides insurance to businesses with 100 employees and fewer. Like many insurance organizations, they have a backlog of claims that have been submitted. Now, in their case, 20,000 cases were backlogged.
Holy.
New cases are coming in every single day. They could not hire enough people fast enough to unclog the backlog, much less keep up. Their hypothesis was, what if Roxy AI could do the work of 6 full-time equivalent claims processors in their call center? And as of today, just in that limited pilot, Roxy's doing the work of 10 full-time equivalents.
With insurance claims, like there would have to be, like a testing portion of lots of like checks and balances, right? You want to make sure that the right things come through. Holy
10 full-time
smokes.
employees. So picture what was happening. There was no reason why any particular claims agent was working any particular claim. Part of what we did with this Roxy AI solution, and this is the difference between the hype of, oh, AI is taking everyone's jobs versus the help that says, I could help you do your job better. And you might feel more satisfied at the end of the day if you solved 1,000 claims and still only worked 8 hours, right? Think how happy the people are when you call them and say, we've fixed your issue. We've resolved your problem. What we did was we took that big case backlog. We categorized all of them by urgency. We pulled from other sources of information and said, hey, this is waiting on a piece of data that sits somewhere else. And instead of having a human go look for it, let's have Roxy fetch that and bring it back, just like any good dog would, right? And then the claims are prioritized in the queue, and then they are assigned based on agent skill level. So imagine you're great at getting people pre-approved for surgery, and I'm great at getting people approved for physical therapy after they've had some kind of injury. Well, now you and I are going to get routed what we're good at because you can get in a flow state. You can start moving it along faster. It doesn't mean we took your job. It means we made your job easier. We let you be machine assisted, not replaced by, enhanced by.
Wow. Okay. So it wasn't like, the Roxy was like processing claims and deciding like approved, denied, or whatever, It was like, okay, we're going to route this. Whatever the task is. Let's say you have like a long to-do list. You organize your own to-do list by like, okay, I can get some early momentum here. Around lunchtime, I might get tired. So I'm going to like do some sit down type work and yada, yada, yada. And you just have this, whether it's schedule and logged, and you just like set yourself up for success. So that's really interesting. How do you equate like, the work of 10 FTEs? Like what's the metric used to calculate that?
It's the velocity at which they are closing cases. So the volume that they can process and the speed at which they can do that. And then being able to maintain a reasonable caseload without adding more full-time equivalent people.
Wow. Okay. That's really cool. What was the feedback that you got from them?
They're so thrilled. They've done a whole platform subscription. And in fact, the next step we're taking with them is we are going to start unhooking some of the software and systems they have. Because like many organizations, they grew a little at a time. And every time they grew or found a great third-party solution, they kind of added it into their tech stack. And over time, it's just a giant tangled spaghetti ball. Maybe Tinker Toys is a better example. It's all interconnected. And they're saying, maybe we could start retiring some of these. Maybe Roxy could just do the work of some of these software and systems, and we don't need that to be the source record any longer. And so that's the next journey that we're on with them to see how far we can go.
Wow, that's super exciting. Okay, so as you've been piloting out Roxy, I love when solutions come from solving your own problems, right? It's like, we built this for us, and then it's almost like people start to be like, well, we could use that too. And you solve your own problem, and it ends up solving the problems of many.
Yes, and another organization we're working with is in steel manufacturing and advanced logistics. Now, when I say those words to you, you're not picturing this is the most modern technical stack that you've ever heard of or seen.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like a foundry, right? Like you think of what was the last thing about logistics and
steel manufacturing.
Steel manufacturing. So making those giant spools of,
Right. And when you think about that, this is the kind of organization that has a lot of technical debt. This is the kind of organization.
When you say technical debt, right? So not every one of the listeners are going to be, tech startup employees. So when you say technical debt, what do you mean by that?
When you show up at work and you log into the software that you need to do your job and you think to yourself, why can't this thing work or look like my iPhone or Amazon? That's technical debt. What it means is the stuff you have is so old they can't make it new no matter how much you wish they could.
There you go, technical debt. Well, that's where it's like the oldest pieces, right? Of how I thought of, you said like a spaghetti ball or Tinker Toys. I think of like, I don't even know, like Mousetrap almost, where it's just like or like duct tape this and like popsicle sticks this, and it's just this giant tower of different ages. Like what's the song by by Johnny Cash, where he's like, I got it one piece at a time. And he like over the course of 50 years, like, you know, gets his brand new car, but it has one turn signal on the left and two on the right. Like, that's what I think about that. When technical debt would be all those old pieces, right? Pieces of that. As you guys have been taking this out to market, like, what are the problems that you can go out there and solve that like get you really excited?
I get very excited about what we are doing in the healthcare space. Okay. Because that's connected to helping people lead better lives. I mean, let's face it, if you're one of the people I was talking about before who's sitting in that claims queue waiting for resolution, by default, it means something's not going well for you from a health perspective, most likely. What's more stressful than being sick and calling a call center and dealing with your insurance?
Yeah, and I always say too, it's like you're on the phone there, and it's like that claims agent, it might be their 12th call of the day. Yes. But that's 12 people who, this is the most important thing for them. Yes. You know, like 12 people. And it's like people aren't always the nicest and they're urgent because, you know, this is a big issue in their life. And for you, it's just call number 12, right? Yes. If you're the one on the phone. And so helping them, actually help improve that, you know, customer experience, the patient experience there.
In that job, when you're in the call center, you really do want to help the person that's calling. And usually there's a process or a data or a regulatory issue that gets in your way. It's not because you lack the skills or the desire. It's just challenging. Another one of my favorite use cases is one of our clients who is focused on improving the quality of leadership and leadership impact in major moments in an employee's journey using our solution. Here's their concept. Leaders very rarely get training about things that matter. You know, navigating a difficult feedback or performance conversation, resolving conflict between employees, managing office politics, whatever that looks like. There are a myriad of scenarios where maybe you went to a class. What kind of practice do you really get when the moment happens? What they decided to do is build a solution that integrates with Slack and Teams and Zoom in many places. And in the moment, we're leveraging our solution, Roxy, to help detect when a scenario is escalating. And it will then proactively pop up privately to the manager. It seems like the situation is escalating between two of your employees. Would you like to take a quick 15-minute training about how to resolve workplace conflict? Or would you rather schedule time with a coach and talk this scenario through? And right there, you can take action.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
Isn't it?
So yeah, right there, you're like, oh, I can eat. Then it like puts you to the right. Because everyone goes through, it's probably like your first week at a new job. It's like hours and hours and hours of those videos. And it's like, it all runs together. Let's be honest, right? So then it like takes you back into like a snippet of one of those, I'm assuming, where it's like, okay, here's this 15-minute thing about how to de-escalate. Yes. You know, when your direct reports are getting chippy with each other. Or whatever.
Yes. And we actually have another client. It's a great example. It's in the insurance space, and we're helping them with more effectively onboarding employees by making it easier to connect with the content they need after that first day, plus the checklists and the reminders. I mean, that's a world where you need certifications and tests. And also for leaders in this organization, they might have 100 new people that are starting tied to their branch in any given week. How do you keep up with the onboarding success of 100 people? We've automated all of that for them and proactively built ways that leaders can see, hey, somebody's really off pace. Nate's really off pace. I should actually contact him and have a live conversation. He's so far behind. And then, hey, maybe half of them are progressing right on track. And the idea is to remove barriers to success very early on of both the learning the content, also creating an internal network of people much more effectively than asking your manager, do you know someone I could meet? Right? I mean, in most organizations, especially bigger ones, people figure out how to get things done by building internal networks. The sooner you can build that, the more successful you'll be. Yeah. So we're helping with that.
Oh, I'm reading a book. I just talked about it on the podcast yesterday. It is Unreasonable Hospitality. Have you heard of this?
I have.
11 Madison Park. Yes. Well, so he goes through a part about hiring, and it was like a part of like building community in there and like getting people connected, especially if you're falling behind. Like in a world of remote work and people are here and there, and it's like it can be tough to like maybe you get stuck on one little thing and you're so hooked up on it that it ends up pushing you behind, and then you're like, okay, maybe this job just isn't for me. But he talks about how he would wait and hire in groups and get them connected so that one, they got to like kind of bring their own energy and culture into the organization, and two, it's like he was in the middle of like a regime change as he took over 11 Madison Park, and he didn't want them getting influenced by the old guard maybe, and he wanted the fresh perspective. So it was really interesting as you think about building those networks inside, whether your company is a restaurant in New York City of 100 people or it's a massive tech company here in Indianapolis. I think that's super, super fascinating. I did want to talk a little bit about, we're talking through AI, right? And specifically like what's hype, what's help. When I think about EIG's business model.
We're just over 3 years old.
Just over
3 years and 3 months.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So just over 3 years old. 3 years ago, helping startups start up.
Yes.
And you talk about like building MVPs. Now, in 36 months, there are platforms, AI thing that can build you MVPs. Like people are just like the work that you were doing 3 years ago. I'm not saying it's completely replaced. There are still tons of good, sometimes you need to go out and have actual like software development built, but there are people building MVPs using only AI. When you see that, is it like crazy of how quick this is moving? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. And what we discovered in the business, and I think every organization of every size goes through this, you first have to define or hypothesize your ideal customer profile. Every business knows, for the most part, or tries to figure out who's your ideal client because they're most likely to spend money with you, be loyal, repeat business with you. And for us, we did a pretty good job of defining our ideal customer profile. Who would be willing to pay us for the services we could offer? Where we struggled was product market fit. Because to your point, as more AI and automation solutions can assist these, especially non-technical startup founders, the issue is that part of the business erodes and you have to go up market. Well, when we go up market as a services business, we're competing with some very large, well-known brands. It's difficult to differentiate from a services organization that's already embedded doing software work at a bigger company. Because they look at someone like us and they're like, how different could you possibly be?
Yeah, and no one ever lost their job doing what's already been done.
Right.
Right? It's like, oh, let's say they take a risk on the innovative,
Yes.
awesome Indianapolis, startup that's growing, scaling company.
Right.
And you guys totally, like, not that you guys would ever do this, but like no one loses their job when they just keep the status quo.
Exactly.
They're not willing to take the risk when you're at this big, you're comfortable, you got your house, your pool, you're chilling, like, you know what, I don't need that risk. Like,
and this vendor that you have is inevitably already in your procurement system.
Yeah.
You've negotiated this volume rate and you kind of know what you're going to get. It takes a lot to differentiate to the degree, to your point, that someone's willing to take that risk. What we have found with our AI solution, Roxy, is people are more attuned to, hey, there's a lot of great companies solving really niche areas, but they're small. And we're used to, at the beginning of a new technology cycle or a new product cycle, people want to try the something new and different because they see the potential benefit. And what, especially in the tech space, we're tuned to is usually at the beginning of that, there are always companies you've never heard of.
Yes, with some name with like slight punctuation or, some just
Some
interesting.
cheeky name.
Yes, exactly.
So we're more receptive to the thought of, for a completely new something that's coming to market, there is no known brand yet. It's all very fragmented. There really is no market leader at this point. That made it easier for us to find our product market fit. And for us, it's also been, in every conversation, we anchor to what is the business problem you're trying to solve or the opportunity you're trying to create, because those connect to real metrics. We can measure what we're going to do together, which means this isn't just a fun thing that we're going to try to say that we're doing AI, quote unquote. We're doing this because we can tie it to a measurable business impact. And I think that's the difference for us at this stage.
One thing I see with AI too is like headcount. It's interesting. I think usually people thought like, you grow a company and obviously you increase revenue, but when you increase revenue, you increase headcount, right? And it's like, I started, we grew to 5,000 employees or whatever. And you're like, wow, you've made it. But now as you see like tech startups and AI, like headcount might not be the like North Star metric. It's almost like efficiency, right? Where it's like, we could get to X amount in revenue with X amount of employee, a lower employee count, but also X amount of employee satisfaction. Because it's like, you don't want to like overwork your employees there. But if you can use these tech solutions to we get technically assist. What was I think you had a word earlier, or like a phrase you used earlier.
It's tech empowered.
Tech empowered.
Yes.
Yeah. I just think that's super, super interesting. I mean, what do you see from that perspective of these tech startups that are growing similar to you guys, right? Like a services company, you have to grow headcount super high if you want to do $100 million in revenue, right? So you have to have a lot of staff if you're a strictly services company. But as a product company, you can do it. I mean, I don't know. There might be. Have we had it yet? Like a single person AI, like a unicorn. I feel like that's got to be coming down the pipeline. I feel like Toph and I just talked about that. That it's like, how long until someone can build a $1 billion company with just AI and one person?
Yes, and we think about this in our organization because Roxy AI it's called a multi-agentic solution. Think of it this way. Imagine if your org chart of human beings had a corollary org chart that was digital human beings. Okay, so imagine I could show up at work tomorrow and I could hire on my team without spending any money, Fran, the finance expert, and Roger, the retail expert, because they're an industry vertical, expert in that topic, and they can help me figure out my e-commerce solution. And you could add these digital humans to your team without adding cost. It's amazing what that could look like because now you can do exactly what you said, augment your organization with digital humans that have valuable capabilities that have, frankly, endless capacity. They never burn out. They always love to work there. You never hurt their feelings. You don't have to write a performance review. They never ask for a raise. It's amazing. What is possible?
This is it's awesome. Like super cool, especially as like I'm hiring my first employee, and I'm trying to, we're lean and mean and like thinking of ways. And in the creative space, it's interesting because I don't want to like jeopardize. Like, people can tell when you write something with AI or it's like my favorite was like, there was a really hot moment where like LinkedIn posts and all of a sudden like 75-year-old white guy is starting to use like all sorts of emojis. And I'm like, Dennis, come on, dude. We know that you didn't write that. Like, we know that you just put this in and it's got it spit out by an AI thing. So I try to like balance and I don't like post anything out that's like directly AI, but like for ideation and content creation, like it can really help get the wheels turning. So how are you seeing these lean teams, whether it's, a solution, I would say outside of a solution, like what you guys are implementing, just like the general AI tools, how do you see founders, leaders, business operators leveraging AI to improve their workflow like today? What could we go do?
One easy one, Reclaim.ai. Reclaim.ai manages your calendar for you, including it. You can program it to put in rest breaks, lunch breaks. You can say, I want my one-on-ones with my employees or all my customer meetings clustered together, and it will dynamically manage your calendar. So you kind of get an assistant, but it plugs in and you program it with your preferences. If you could program it to say, after I have 3 hours of meetings, please program a 15-minute break. And it will just dynamically do that for you. And as your calendar changes, it will change with you. That is very useful, especially if you can't afford an assistant, to your point of being lean and mean.
I'm like looking at this thing right now. Like, this is insane.
Yes. I mean, that is just simple and easy and endlessly useful. I also think about my creative types that I have as clients and on the team, and to some degree myself as well. This is the best, just going to ChatGPT is the best co-creation, brainstorming, ideation partner you have that can help you come up with more ideas and move your thought process along before you go have the conversation with the client, the investor, the publisher, if you're a book writer, whatever that might be. It's amazing how far you can get with just the free version of that and revising or refining an idea and getting more creative. I mean, that's free, easy, and accessible. And I think more people are becoming attuned to that thought. I should be able to ask a question and then ask a follow-up question and not end up with 65 little tabs open on my desktop or my laptop because I've been trying to get the answer to something or come up with an idea. Now I have to click on 500 links to go find it.
And I think that is just like a great example where it's like, okay, we're looking for questions to ask an AI expert that's coming in on my podcast. And then it like gives you 5 terrible questions. But then like, oh, there's little snippets within them, and it's like, oh, hey, dial more in on this help versus hype within the AI sector, and then it gives you like 5 decent questions, and then you like dive like one layer deeper in there, and instead of like going all these tabs deeper or having to just like rack your brain for an hour, you kind of get to like, oh, these are some solid questions that we could ask to like get some real, and then at the end it's like, and optimize the answer that would provide something that's going to perform well on social media. And all of a sudden now we have like 4 questions that are like phenomenal, great hooks that are going to pull people in, and then they really want to hear your answer. Boom, right there.
To the point you were making earlier, there's always a balance between putting out what is authentic and real versus something that is machine generated. Your LinkedIn example is a great one. I have produced thousands and thousands of LinkedIn posts at this point in my life. I mean, with 5, soon to be 6 books, that's how that goes. Being in thought leadership, that's how that goes. Being in business to some degree, that's how that goes. And I will tell you that my most engaged content on any platform, bar none at this point, is still the posts I do every single Sunday about my grandfather. And you know why? It's real. I didn't AI generate a 101-year-old human. I did not AI generate the image of what we're eating for lunch or the activity we're doing. And it's heartfelt and real. And people still gravitate toward what is real.
Here's a quick hack to downtown Indy for you. There are 2 parking garages right by Mass Ave that are doing $6 for 6 hours of parking. It's Penrose on Mass. If you go to the parking garage underneath that, it's $6 for 6 hours. And Block 20, right next to Rathskeller, literally pays $6 for 6 hours of parking. It's the move, right off Mass Ave. Don't sleep on it. It's not 52 business lessons you can learn from eating dinner at your grandfather's on Sunday, right? Where it's like, I did this crazy thing, and here's what it, like, I got married this weekend, and here's what it taught me about business, right? It's like, what? I agree, though. And I think there's like, you do a great job of balancing between like, totally unprofessional, like you don't want to be on that side, but it's like, oh, this is real, a glimpse into your actual life, and there's usually a lesson to take out of it, or just like an interesting piece, or something like, oh, I never thought about that, or that's a cool story, or whatever it might be. I think that in a world full of AI, human sells, right? Human like gets real emotion and interaction, and people want to hang out and talk to humans.
It's interesting when I heard you say that. On my big surprise reveal project, there's an artwork component to it. And so I was looking for someone to do artwork for this. I'm not an artist in that sense. And one of the creative I ultimately selected, I said, well, if you just want to do this faster, I mean, you could just use AI. And the person came back to me after reflecting on it and said, no, I'm going to hand draw every pencil sketch, and I'm going to hand color this in because that's what I do. AI is not going to give you that. And I won't feel good about putting my name on something that as a creative, I did not authentically generate myself. And I thought, okay, that's a boundary.
Because it's like you could find someone, and probably way quicker. They'd be done in
right.
an
That
hour.
was my thought. I mean, come on, this isn't, I'm not on the verge of winning a Nobel Prize for this, most likely. I mean, I would welcome it, of course.
Yes, of course.
I wouldn't turn it down.
If the voting committee is listening to the Get In podcast, please give her the prize.
Absolutely.
But it's like people take pride in that. Like I take a lot of pride in when I create a clip or I have a podcast. Like I don't just like and a lot of times you like speed up, get 10 clips from a single podcast, like put it into XYZ tool, and it's like I love like there's an art form of like finding the right piece of it and then like putting the right overlays and it's like you finish it and it's like wow, like from start to finish this is a creation.
Yes.
And it's an expression of something that I'm passionate about or and it's like I don't know, people that are listening are like, okay dude, chill out, it's just an Instagram clip or whatever, but I like really love it, and the idea of putting it together is fun and racks my brain, and like it's a puzzle piece to put together, and it's like similar to the Illustrator. So this is what you want to put your name on.
And the other aspect of it is, this is the upside of AI is you can take the pieces of your job or or your personal life that you want to sort of outsource, and you can leverage these wonderful tools and platforms and solutions so that you can free yourself up for the parts of your personal and professional life that you find deeply satisfying and meaningful, right? If you're a person who hates to cook, ChatGPT is great, and there are many other applications like it, but ChatGPT, say, write me a 1-week meal plan that is gluten-free and has these macros. It'll spit it out. Then you write me a shopping list. Boom, done. So if you don't like to plan all that, there you go. Now, if you're like me and you love to cook, I would be so sad. I don't want that kind of assistance. It's the same thing. We can leverage technology to take away some activities that we don't enjoy and aren't our strengths. This is the upside. More time for what matters and what you love and what brings you joy.
The cookbook industry is pissed about ChatGPT. They're like, dude, I'm like someone who's put out like, you have 50, which you'll never get the like, the whole story behind the whole cookbook, right. But it's also like done. It's like, okay, I want this macro, like this protein, yada, yada. And it's like, you just go to the store and then you put it into your Kroger pickup app.
Yes.
It's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And now you just show up, get it, and then you come home.
Exactly.
Like, wow. There's really no excuse for why I don't cook at home. Ugh, you just solved all my problems there. Well, talking about cookbooks, your book, Sundays with Salvator, like just over a year-ish old, maybe like almost 2. I don't remember.
It's a year and some change. It came out in September 2023.
September 2023. Yep. Okay. So like a year and a half-ish. I thought it was spectacular. I think that the ideas of, one, I think your grandpa was 99 at the time, turning 100.
Yes.
And spending you said it's a lesson, a recipe, and something else in each of the sections?
And because it follows this thought process that all this wisdom I've gotten from him, much of it has been over Sunday dinners. I cook Sunday dinner for my grandfather every single week, and we sit and have a conversation. And so there's 52 chapters in the book that stand alone. You could pick it up, read one. You don't have to hook to anything else. It's a story, a piece of his wisdom, a thought prompt to make that wisdom your own, and then a family recipe and a picture.
Give us a bio of your grandfather.
My grandfather is a first-generation American, World War II veteran, and an entrepreneur who, at this point in time, still lives in his own home, plants a garden, has 3 iPads, 2 laptops, a smartwatch, and day trades stocks.
Stop. He day trades stocks?
Day trade stocks. How about it?
Holy, wait, what? Wait, 2 iPads, three iPads, 2 laptops. Uh-huh. He's a technical wizard. He's just like,
yes,
wow.
Yes. So when people say, "Oh, I'm too old to learn something," I look at him as the example of that's not true. It's only true if you believe that it's true.
Yeah, and the self-talk, and it's always going to be hard at the first. Like if you just gave the average 90-year-old an iPad or an iPhone, said figure it out, it's like it's hard. But if you have the right teachers and you just stay persistent on it, you can figure it out.
Yes, and he's current on current events. He still has a great appetite. He loves a hearty debate and company. He's so vibrant and just a blueprint for what aging and health span can be like. Right? You can live very healthy into your later years. And for him, all of that stock trading is really tied to a higher sense of purpose for him, which is this is how he takes care of his family. I put $125 a month in an account every month, and he invests it for me. And he prints out statements. We have quarterly portfolio reviews. Every week we're talking about the stock market.
Shut up. No.
He is taking care of his family with this investing. That's part of his purpose.
So has he been really just in the dumps a little bit lately with everything going on?
Well, at this stage, he does believe in buying stocks that pay a dividend, so he's clinging to the fact that he's getting dividends as supplemental income.
There we go.
And fascinating because he is down much less in his portfolio than the overall market average. So he's actually made very smart buys.
Salvator, come on.
Yes.
Okay, so where was the moment that you realized that this wasn't just your average grandfather? This wasn't just like your average human being, and that you needed to really take time to, soak up the knowledge that he has?
Interestingly enough, it was on a podcast kind of like this, because someone asked me the question, who is the most inspiring person that you've met? And I started thinking about that because I've been fortunate to meet a lot of inspiring and interesting and motivated and accomplished people. I started reflecting on what I've learned from various people, mentors, teachers, coaches, bosses, friends, the whole range. And what I started to realize was the person that I've learned the most from in my life, who I find inspiring for his courage to live well at this age and have the smarts and drive to not outlive his money at this age either, is my grandfather. And I thought, wow, if this is one of the greatest teachers of my life and I have all this access to him, I bet other people could learn something from him too. And while I still have him and can ask him these questions, I need to write these things down. I'm big on living a life of no regrets. I didn't want to have that moment of regret that I let it slip by, that I could document these stories and get videos of him telling these stories while he was still here to do it.
Okay, let me tell you a story. This is fun. I haven't gotten to this one on the podcast before. Back in 2017, my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and I bought her a journal. And I was like thinking, okay, if our time is going to be limited, I want all this prophetic wisdom. I was like, she will give me the answers, like, this is my favorite recipe, and this is like all the things, right? Like all this wisdom that she's accumulated over her 47 years of life. So I gave her the journal, and I didn't check in. And so she would write and do some journaling. After she passed away, what I realized was I didn't give any structure to it. So it was like, or like one journal entry was like, we had spaghetti for dinner last night. It was good. And I was like, not the prophetic wisdom I was really looking for. She talked about having regrets. I was like, I wish I would have like actually put questions together and like made this, like, what was I actually looking for? I just expected her to like read my brain to know, like, if someone handed you a book and said, give me the secrets to life, like, what would you, I don't know where I would start. And that's a hard thing to do. I'd start with ChatGPT probably. So then I was really close. So her mom, my grandma, still alive for 7 years after my mom. And I like, okay, I get a second chance at this, some redemption for this, I wouldn't say it was totally like regrets, but it's like, if I could go back, I would have done that differently. So I wrote her 52 prompts so that she could write out, like, what was the most inspiring person in your life, or your favorite recipe, or a time when things were hard, or your greatest lesson, or blah, 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 blah. And wrote her 52 prompts. And one by one, each week, she filled them out, wrote them by hand. I like transcribed it and put together a book for her. And it's incredible. Like, it's still one of my favorite reads. It's just like an autobiography of my grandma. It's fantastic. And it's like one of those things where there's like, she was a farm wife in northern Indiana. So at surface level, you're like, okay, what do I have to learn from, a woman who lived her entire life in northern Indiana and but so not true. All you do is ask these questions. And it was like, oh, what I learned from traveling across the country on a train in 1941 or what. Like, it was just, she had some insane stories, amazing lessons. And it was like, it was game changer. Like, I want to recommend go read Sundays with Salvator, but also I recommend people like go and talk to the wisest, oldest people in their life and garner this and write it down for the future.
Moms and grandmas are special people, so I'm sorry to hear that you've lost yours. And what I love is probably inside of some of what your grandmother wrote down were some nuggets about your mom. She probably wrote a few memories that included your mom, and so you get to have that time capsule for forever. And that's such a beautiful tribute. It's the other reason I encourage people, even if you don't like to cook, to learn how to make your family foods. That one thing you have at the holidays or your birthday, because sometimes those really meaningful tastes of nostalgia that come through food sometimes die off with a generation or with a person if nobody writes them down or learns how to make them.
Yeah, that's powerful. What are a few of your favorite excerpts from the book that everyone in the world should know?
One principle I learned from my grandfather that is still true to this day, that he lives out every single day, is make your money work as hard for you as you work for your money. And I think that's so important because even though he has always had a very modest income, and he had a finance and insurance business for many years, he was always very good about saving and investing in the stock market, starting in 1967 with some money he inherited from his father when his father passed away. And so the whole point of that is, yes, we can say, and statistically speaking, they say very few women are invested in the stock market because it's considered very intimidating and not having knowledge. Wow, we're missing a moment, especially for women, when we, on average, tend to live longer and on average tend to be paid less for the same work. You have got to learn how to make your money work as hard for you as you're working for your money.
Yeah, I think that is spectacular advice. And the thing you don't see, like, you don't see a ton of 90% of 28-year-old dudes have a Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Or have like Coinbase or like all
Yes.
these things. And it's like, we don't know what we're doing either. Like, I have no clue. And it's like, I just like, okay, I'm supposed to do this. So I go in there and like, I read something on Reddit real quick. And then I'm not like a day, it's like, I buy it, set it, forget it. And like, I don't know whether it's risk tolerance or what it might be, but you're totally right that you're missing a huge opportunity there to get your money in the thing that's going to produce I mean, I don't know. This is not financial advice, right? But it's like there's a reason a ton of people do it, and a lot of people end up being pretty wealthy.
Right. There's a reason that people still have money to retire with.
Yeah.
It's because they start thinking about it well before they're going to be retiring.
Yeah, that's always, and it's like, again, I think I'm just thinking through my conversations with like 27, 28-year-old, and like women on average usually have like large savings accounts that are earning like 0.5% or whatever. Like, no, but it's like, oh wow, you have all that. Like, do you have it in your XYZ, in the brokerage account or whatever? Like, no, not doing that. Like,
Too scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could lose it. What? Could make more too.
Yeah. That's a real, and I wonder, there have to be people out there solving that not problem, but like encouraging that and providing the right guidance to get invested into something that can help you make, retirement returns over time.
Yes. And Whitney Johnson, who wrote a book called Disrupt Yourself, she was a senior executive in the finance world, and now she spends a lot of time breaking down financials and making the market less intimidating. And she does have an entire section of what she does that's really targeted toward women, generally applicable for us to all be better, less afraid money managers.
Yeah. What is so make your money work as hard for you as you work for your money. Bang. I love that. Okay. That's any other ones?
It's not what's on the table, but who's gathered around it that makes a meal delicious.
All right, cut it. We're done. That's the mic drop moment. It's not what's on the table, but who's gathered around it that makes a meal delicious. Isn't that so true? Like, I think back to some of the best dinners that I've been to. Rarely is it ever, I mean, the food obviously accents it a little bit, but you can have 10 McDoubles and have a really good group of friends and just be like, that was just an awesome moment of fellowship and a great meal. That's wisdom right there. Holy smokes.
For sure. And I think one of my other favorites, one of the pictures I have in the book is when my grandparents were living in Florida and they got to be the grand marshals of the 4th of July parade in their neighborhood. So they're sitting on the back of this convertible. How they got this, I have no idea. But my grandmother's holding this spray of roses. They're sitting on the back. They're waving to the population. Flash forward, I start doing these LinkedIn posts and write the book. And then my grandfather gets the Sagamore the Wabash Award from the governor in Indiana. He's never been so famous. And, he's been on TV now, podcasts and so forth. And so I said to him, how does it feel at this age to be having your 15 minutes of fame? And he said, I can tell you something about that. And it's this: 15 minutes of fame is at least 10 minutes too much.
That's a good one, man. Because the Sagamore, the Wabash, like all these accolades, just a wealth of knowledge, and there is a piece of one. I just think that generation in general, it's like, hey, we just keep our head down and keep working. Is that the greatest generation? Is that the you go by?
Yes,
right?
And it's interesting you say that. Here I've spent all of this time with my grandfather, and we wrote a book together. And I walked into his house in the fall and he said, I have something to tell you that I've never told anyone before in my life. How is that possible at this point? We did a whole book where we captured everything you know and have experienced. For the first time ever, he told us that he was in D-Day when he was in the Navy and unpacked the whole story. And I don't know if it was the anniversary of that, and the commemoration that sparked that thought or the desire to tell us. I don't know why he waited all this time. And I've taken him on the honor flight where you go with the veterans on the program to Washington, D.C., and they see their monuments. And he's didn't come up that day. Not when we met Bob and Kitty Dole. Not when we're in front of the monument. Never mentioned it until a few months ago.
I mean,
how does that not come up?
If you were there, I don't know how much I'd want to talk about anything like that. And what was his feedback where he's like, I've never told anyone about this? Like, did he tell you why he's never told anyone about this?
He did not say why he's never told us. We asked questions and he said he remembers, seeing the soldiers going up onto the shore, and they were a supply ship. So they had taken supplies and they were sitting there because they were anticipating needing to resupply even before it was, of course, known what a significant and massive event that would be. And I asked him, I said, did you know how serious the situation was? And he said, they don't tell you things like that when you're in the military. You just get told what to do and you do it. He said, the only thing I can tell you that I remember as being very different about that day is that when we were sitting in the water in the boats, we sat anchor up because of needing to retreat probably very quickly. And he said the plan was we were told that when we retreated, we would be going to the south of France because that was anticipated to be the next big battlefront. That did not play out because of how D-Day happened. But I thought, how have you never mentioned this? I can't imagine. I truly can't imagine. But to your point of the greatest generation and the humility, it was like, well, I don't know why that would need to be said.
I am like a history buff, and it's a boy. Like, I don't know how many World War II veterans are left still living. Can't be many at this point.
Many.
Right? You think of 1941 to 45, add another 80 years on that. So, and you were already had to be right around 18, yeah. I mean, so this generation is coming to a point where those won't be first person recollections anymore. And I just can't imagine, like, I think it's like, here I am, 28 years old, hosting a podcast in Indianapolis, and I post on social media. And that's how I get paychecks from that. Yeah. And I'm like 60, 80 years ago, it's like, thinking about sitting out in the English Channel, anchors up, ready to like zip out of there. It's just not. It's just like, and then coming back and like not talking about that and just like that's what we did. Mm-hmm. People that were like faking their age to like go and fight in this is wild. It gets me like very in a state of a ton of gratitude, and I just think that it's stories like that. As well as you have 52 stories in the cookbook with your grandpa. There's just so much that we can pick up from. Maybe not the most extravagant or the most Instagrammable life, but a really good life. And when you get to be 101, you can look and have these incredible stories and be a person that, your granddaughter still wants to come over every Sunday and have a meal with you. And there's still new things that you can discover at 101 years old. Wow. Okay. I love it. See, you never know where the conversation is going to go, and it pumps me up. The final thing we want to talk about is you do have a new book that's launching.
And the new book is quite the departure from anything I've ever done before.
It's going to be The Secrets to AI, right?
That would be the shortest book I've ever written because I'm probably not the expert on that topic.
What is the new book? What do we have coming out?
Well, the new book is my first ever children's book. And it is inspired by my 3.5-year-old nephew, who is of Chinese and Sicilian descent. And I started thinking about how to celebrate those cultures. And what would the crossover be? It's noodles. You know how much kids love noodles? Well, the Chinese brought spaghetti to Italy. And so the book is inspired by my nephew and his ducky and bear that he sleeps with every night. And the book is called Oodles of Noodles. And together they go on an adventure around the world, trying noodles in different cultures and meeting people. And at the end of the book, discovering that we're all the same people, no matter our home.
That's a wrap right there. Come on. I love it. A children's book, Oodles of Noodles. I mean, I'm sold. I think where can people pick up the book at?
You can get it on Amazon. Oodles of Noodles Around the World. And beautifully, it was hand illustrated. This was the sketch I was talking about earlier. Yeah. I mean, pencil sketches, hand inked. Each page is a masterpiece, truly.
What I love about this, too, is it also ties into your book, Sundays with Salvator, which was dedicated to your nephew.
That's correct, yes.
And then now this book is written, is the main character Mason?
The main character is Mason.
That's so
my better half was joking with me. He said, no, your nephew's not spoiled at all. I mean, every kid gets their own children's book. Of course they do.
That's so true, right? It's like, I don't know. I just think that's super. And it's something he'll remember like one day. Like, it'll be really cool at first. And then he'll get to be like a teenager. And then like when his first girlfriend comes over, like his mom will be like, hey, remember when your Aunt Karen made this book about? He's like, stop it. And then when he gets to be like 30 and has his own kid, then he's like, yeah, kids, I'm cool. There was a book written about me. Uh-huh. I love it. People can pick it up on Amazon.
People can pick it up on Amazon.
Noodles?
Oodles of Noodles.
Heck yeah. I love it. All right, we've come to the final part of the show. We have a few fun segments for you. The first one is our Younger Years segment. It's brought to you by our friends at Orr Fellowship. They're a great organization here in Indiana helping develop young business leaders across the state. Karen, what advice would you give to your 22-year-old self?
It all comes together. Just calm down. In those early years where you're getting started in a job or a career and you really want to be taken seriously and make an impact. And I also had aspirations to make the world a better place. And it just felt like I keep trying and trying, and it's not coming together the way I pictured. Well, when I compound now over many years, friendships and travels and a network that I've built and experiences that I've had, a whole lot of that effort pays off later. So just kind of calm down, let it play out. It kind of works itself out. You just don't know that then.
Amen. I love it. It's like calm down as in like relax a little bit, but just keep working hard and it starts to compound. Similar to the stock market.
Yes.
Compounding. There we go. I mean, food is obviously a huge part of your life and way you share a meal. I know we said that it doesn't matter what's on the table, right? It's more of who's around the table. Yes. But if you had to pick a recipe that just reminds you of family, home, community, what would you pick?
Our homemade spaghetti and meatballs.
I mean, can you go wrong there?
No.
Is there a secret sauce? Is there a secret to it?
We raise our own tomatoes and can the juice. So, I mean, it's for real from scratch.
Okay, so there it is. Grow the garden and then harvest the tomatoes. And then that's what's going to help you make the famous spaghetti and meatballs.
Yes.
I have my own recipe for spaghetti. It's called Spangetti. And I have a top secret recipe. I actually just gave it to my friends. I gave them the recipe for the first time ever, and I put like the top secret like folders together and gave it to them for Christmas so they could enjoy it with their families. You are obviously big into podcasts, books. Is there a specific podcast or a specific book that has influenced your career the most?
The book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, is a great read. I think of it now as kind of a timeless classic. And here's what I like about it. At every stage of your career, you can be successful. It's just that what made you successful and maybe even satisfied at one point in your career doesn't necessarily translate to the next promotion and the next promotion or the next role and the next role because the context is different and so are the expectations. And so it goes through this predictable list of limiting behaviors that are things you kind of become strengths overused that you kind of need to let go of as you move forward.
What got you here won't get you there?
What got you here won't get you there.
Amazing. That's a good rec. Man, this is so good. All right, I have 3 questions that we ask every guest that comes on. The first one, what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
It's awesome, and you have to visit it. We have so much art, culture, sports, entertainment, fascinating people, and diversity.
Boom. She's doing my job for me. There it is. That's the highlight reel. Next, when they visit, what is a hidden gem in Indiana?
A hidden gem in Indiana is the catacombs underneath of City Market.
Can you go down there still?
You can still go down there several times a year. Yes, that is a hidden gem.
Okay, so do you know any, like, what's the history or, like, how does it?
Very Prohibition era.
Oh.
That's when all of the booze got buried underground, was in the catacombs underneath of City Market. Yes.
Wow.
And on the day that Prohibition was repealed, there is a party down there every single year. So you can actually get tickets and go down there. Little candlelight and, dress in your 1920s.
Catacombs, Indianapolis
Catacombs,
party?
Indianapolis. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, you can take tours.
Yes.
Well, I do think that right now they're doing some renovations to them or whatever. But like I had talked with Zach Spicer, who did The Duel, like the big movie, and they filmed a portion of it down in the catacombs. And I mean, they look very spooky, but very cool. I thought that's a really good hidden gem. Okay. Final question. This helps us source new guests or just share the love with some other Hoosiers. Who's a Hoosier that we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
Michael Alt, the executive director of Heartland Film. Many people would be surprised to discover that the Heartland International Film Festival here in Indianapolis is a qualifying round for the Oscars. Heartland Film encompasses opportunities for students who are in high school to have filmmaking opportunities, universities. There's a shorts film festival. There's the International Film Festival, kind of the same as a Sundance, a Cannes Film Festival, and it happens here in Indianapolis. All kinds of cool celebrity actors, directors, producers come. You can watch lots of films. He is doing great things with putting Indianapolis on the map as a creator place and bringing people together with compelling reasons to visit Indy.
Oh, yes. We had Greg Sorvig on the show, maybe right before last year's Heartland Film Festival. And he gave us all the info and stuff, like all the theaters that they tap from Can to a living room to, I mean, all the cool.
The Toby at Newfield.
Yes, right? Like so many cool spots. Do you go every year?
Oh, yes. I go every year.
If you don't do your due diligence from the outside looking in, you're like, okay, it's like a local film festival. And then you realize, oh, shoot, this is a big deal.
Yes. And in fact, at our Shorts Film Festival, we had Noah Emmerich here, the guy from The Truman Show and The Americans. He had never been to Indiana before. And he was in a short film called The Ice Cream Man. And it's a World War II era film. They filmed it at Zaharikos Ice Cream Shop in Columbus, Indiana, because it most replicated the place in Amsterdam in which the story is set. He came, he was at our film festival, he was at the reception, he was the nicest person. I introduced everyone to him. We asked if he'd been to Indiana before. He said no. We asked what he thought. He loved it. Nicest person. But it is A-list celebrity. And of course, they served ice cream, by the way, at the event, which was great. Most chill person. But you're thinking, these are A-list people. And also up-and-comers and everyone in between telling all kinds of stories. I mean, there's something for everyone. I've watched documentaries that I'm not sure I fully understood because they were so smart. I've watched very cheeky, animated, fun short films. I mean, there's just a little something for everyone. But Michael Alt really has a vision, not just for that organization, but for really how this puts India on the map as a place for creators and really building our creator economy. And I love that.
I couldn't say, as a creator, it's good to have have people working that way and building that community for creators. I will say the 34th Heartland International Film Festival is scheduled to take place October 9th through the 19th of 2025. Yes. So if you want to, go, I don't know if they have tickets or anything released yet, but just put it on your calendar. Get ready to rock there. Yeah, October 9th through the 19th. Yes. So, you can just go and you don't have, I think people think of, I said this to Greg, people think of festival. I think of like music festival. And it's like, oh, you have to do all 10. It's like, no, you can just go to one show. Right. Like you could just go see one show. You could go to one event, one thing. Yeah. You don't have to do everything. You could just go get a taste for, one of the shorts or anything like that. So, well, Karen, thank you for coming on. It was awesome to catch up and hear about all the cool things that EIG is doing when it comes to AI and kind of like Roxy, this new platform that you guys are taking to market, as well as learn more about your grandfather, Salvator, and obviously your book and Oodles of Noodles, the new one coming out. So we appreciate you stopping by. This is super fun.
Thank you. It's always great to be around your high energy.
There we go. All right, well, we'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of Get In. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all of my gear recommendations at sweetwater.com. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.